atoms. In atoms, we are going to know about that Bohr theory of an hydrogen atom. Bohr theory of an hydrogen atom. According to the Planck's quantum theory, Bohr has given some of the assumptions about the postulates about the atom. Means here he has given some of the postulates. In that case of the postulate one is in earlier video we discussed about the postulates. Once again I am repeating. The postulates means the explanations as given about an atom by the Niels Bohr. Scientist Niels Bohr has given about that by using the Rutherford's model. By using the Rutherford's model, he has given the some of the postulates. Those are, the first one is whenever electron is revolving, means the positive charge is placed in the center of an atom. When the electron is about to revolve around the nucleus, some of the centrifugal force, means the centrifugal force, that is mv square by r. The centrifugal force is balanced. The centrifugal force is balanced with the net electrostatic force of attraction towards the nucleus. The centrifugal force of an electron is balanced by a net electrostatic force of attraction towards the nucleus. That is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E square by R square. That is the equation for electrostatic force. So that the both are equal, balancing each other. So that's why the electron can revolve in circular orbit according to the Niels Bohr. So in that case of the first postulate is the centrifugal force. The centrifugal force is balanced by the net electrostatic force of attraction. Force of attraction towards nucleus. So that the electron can revolve constantly in the orbit. So that's why here we can write that 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E square by R square, that is equal to mv square by R. First, this is the considered equation number 1. The next one is the second postulate. This is the first postulate, and the second postulate says those orbits which are possible when the electron is revolving around the nucleus in a fixed or stationary orbit, there is no energy is radiated. Means those are the orbits are possible, those are stationary orbits are possible whose orbital angular momentum of those orbits are possible. Those orbits are possible is in integral multiple of is equal to an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Here h is the Planck's constant. Niels Bohr has given that by using the Planck's quantum theory and classical mechanics is involved in Rutherford's postulates, and he has given that some of the postulates about that. So that's why we can write that mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Here is the n is the number of orbits, so that we can say that 1, 2, 3 up to so on. These considered equation number 2. So by using these equations we can write that from the equation number 2 we can possible that Bohr has clearly calculated the radius and energy and speed of energy, means the radius of the orbit and also speed of an electron on the orbit and as well as the total energy of an electron he has calculated correctly, successfully calculated. So that's why by using these equations we can write that. And also Bohr has given his postulates, the electron cannot radiate any energy while it is revolving in a possible orbit, means a fixed orbit. It's a definite orbit, is called as a stationary orbit. Whenever it is in remains constant in the stationary orbit, the no radiation energy, means there is no any energy radiated by the electron. But it will possible when electron is jumps from higher energy orbital, higher energy stationary orbital to the any lower energy orbital, then the energy can be radiated by an electron. So in that case, to find out the radius of an orbit, here to find out the radius of an orbit considered successfully, he has given some of the postulates and he gave the successful explanation about the postulates. So we are going to know this. First of all, from equation 2 we are writing from equation 2. From equation 2 we can write that mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi is the equation. mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. From this equation I am writing about v is equal to, so that's why from v is equal to, whenever m and r taken to this side, that will become so nh by 2 pi mr. So we are substituting v value substituting in equation 1. Substituting in equation 1. Equation 1 means this is the 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E square by R square is equal to mv square by R square. In that v, instead of this v, we are substituting this total value. Then we can get that substituting in equation 1. So that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E square by R square, that is equal to, here m by r into v square means this is nh by 2 pi mr whole square. Here instead of v we are writing that nh by 2 pi mr in the equation number 1, that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E square by R square is equal to mv square by r. By substituting this equation, then we can find out the radius of an orbit. So we are squaring totally from 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E square by R square is equal to m by r into, here I am substituting inside the square, so n square h square by 4 pi square m square into r square, here this. So we can cancel in opposite sides, the r square and r square get cancelled, and 1 pi, from this 1 pi 4 get cancelled. So the remaining values we can write that they are that E square by epsilon naught is there, epsilon naught, that is equal to n square h square m, n square h square, we are cancelling here m, then there is no n square h square by, here we can get, we have the remaining 1 pi is there, so pi, and 1 m is there, m, and r is there, pi m r. So we need radius of an orbit, that is we should find out that what is r. So here is the r, we are taking r in this side and remaining terms are taking inside, then we can, whenever taking the r in this side, r is equal to whenever epsilon cross multiplied, whenever there is cross multiplied, we can get that here pi m r E square is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by cross multiplying. So we should find out r is equal to, so we are taking that r is equal to, the remaining terms are taken this side, then we can get that n square h square epsilon naught by phi m E square. This is the equation for a radius, this is the equation for an radius of an orbit. Whenever if we want to calculate the minimum radius of an orbit, which are this, we are having that if in case of a, from this equation we can write that the radius is directly proportional to directly proportional to, radius directly proportional to square of n. Square of n means it's a principal quantum number. Principal quantum number. Principal quantum number. So that's why we can write that if in case of for small value, n is equal to 1, for small value n is equal to 1, we can write that here by substituting the values and Planck's constant h and the constant values. By substituting the constant values we can get that totally the R1 is equal to the less, for small value n is equal to 1, then first the lower inner orbit is having that 0.529 into 10 to the power of minus 10 meters will be the radius of an orbit. Radius of an orbit for small value n is equal to 1 orbit, first orbit which is near to the nucleus. That orbit radius is up to 0.529 into 10 to the power of minus 10 meter. From this equation we can get that. From this equation we can get that the diameter of a nucleus, diameter of nucleus we can get that from the diameter up to 10 to the power of minus 10 meter will be the diameter of an atom. Diameter of an atom we can calculate the, by using this whenever we will calculate the radius of an atom, that is r radius of an orbital, r is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by 5 m square. Once again from equation 2 we should write that the velocity v is equal to nh by 2 pi mr by taking the terms inside, then the substitute this v value in the equation number 1, then from that by the calculation we can get that r is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by 5 m e square. Here mass is the mass of an hydrogen atom, E is the charge, and at the same time n is the number of orbits, h is the Planck's constant, epsilon is the permittivity. So here pi is the constant numbering, we can say that is r is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by 5 m e square be the equation for an radius. The radius is directly proportional to the square of an n, means here n is the principal quantum number. For least value of ray orbital, that is n is equal to 1, then we can get that 0.529 into 10 to the power of minus 10 meters will be the radius of least orbital. Then from that value we can calculate that the diameter of an atom, that will be 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. So from this equation we can write that the 10 to the power of minus 10 meters diameter of an atom, we can calculate that by the using this. Also we can write that 0.529 10 to the power of 10 meters also can write as that is R1 is equal to 0.529 angstroms. 529 angstroms. Angstroms means which is having the value of 10 to the power of minus 10 meters or 10 to the power of minus 8 centimeters. So that's why 0.529 angstroms also the least amount of for small value of orbital we can write that. So by using this, the next one is the radius of an orbit. Now Bohr already successfully calculated the radius of an orbit and as well as speed of an electron in orbit. So now we are going to discuss about velocity of an electron or speed of an electron, we can write that. So here from the equation we have that from equation number 2, that is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Already we know that from the equation number 2 is from equation number 2. From equation number 2 we are writing that here mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi be the equation number 2. So we already have the equation for this, r is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by 5 m e square be the radius of an orbit. So that's why here we are substituting the value of radius of an orbit in the equation, that is r is equal to, because of mv, r is equal to the value is n square h square epsilon naught by 5 m e square is equal to nh by 2 pi. So both sides some of the same quantities are there, same numbers are there. So that's why that is 1 n get cancelled, h cancelled, pi get cancelled, and remaining will be, there is a remaining values m v. Here 1h is there, 1n is there. So n h epsilon naught by m e square. the mm also get cancelled. So here the remaining will be 1 by 2 is there. But we want to know this, the velocity or the speed of an electron in orbit. So the remaining terms are taken to this side. Then we can get that the V is equal to, that is V is equal to, so NH by NH epsilon naught by E square we are taking this side, then we can get that the E square becomes a numerator and NH epsilon naught becomes a denominator. So that's why here we are writing that E square by 2NH epsilon naught. 2NH epsilon naught means we want to know the what is V value. Once again, from equation number 2 we are substituting the radius of an electron by the radius of an orbit. R is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by 5m e square equation. In the equation number 2, that is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi, means whose the orbits are possible, whose orbital angular momentum which is equal to an integral multiple of an h by 2 pi. That is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Mvr be the orbital angular momentum, n be the principal quantum number, that is number of orbit, means n is equal to number of orbit, h be the Planck's constant. So from this equation r is substituted in the equation, that is n square h square epsilon naught by 5m e square, that is equal to nh by 2 pi. That same terms get cancelled, and here also we can cancel the mm also, then we can no need to write here. By cancelling here no need to write this one. So the remaining terms as written in this place. So the whenever we are writing the remaining terms, so then we can get that V n h epsilon naught, V n h epsilon naught, V n h epsilon naught by the E square is remained. So the E square and is equal to only the number 1 by 2 is remaining in this side. So that's why we can get that by cross multiplying, means whenever the nh epsilon naught by E square taken to this side, numerator becomes denominator and denominator becomes numerator, means nh epsilon naught is becomes 2 nh epsilon naught, E square becomes numerator. So that's why V is equal to E square by 2 nh epsilon naught, means here the velocity of an electron is inversely proportional to n, means whenever the velocity of an electron is inversely proportional to n, means whenever the innermost orbital having the less velocity, and means the n is equal to, if you have the less number, then velocity will be less, and which the n value is more, the number of orbits is more, while increasing the velocity of an this velocity of an electron will be decreased in the orbit. So velocity of an electron is inversely proportional to n. We can get that V is inversely proportional to n by containing that E square by 2h epsilon naught is a constant. So again, from this equation we can write that, we can find out that whenever the electron is revolving in a stationary orbit, it contains some frequency is there. So frequency, the frequency we can write that f is equal to 1 by t, f is equal to 1 by t. So that is equal to, we can write that f is equal to 1 by t, that is V by 2 pi r with the equation for the frequency, f is equal to V by 2 pi r. How we get this equation? From that we know that f is equal to, we know that omega by 2 pi from the angular velocity. So from this equation V is equal to r omega, we know that V is equal to r omega. From that omega is equal to V by r we can get by substituting this equation V by 2 pi r we can get. So by this equation frequency is equal to V by 2 pi r. So here V is equal to, frequency is equal to V by 2 pi r. From that equation we are writing. So from that equation, whenever by substituting, we have the value for velocity and also we have the value for radius. We have the value for velocity and we have the value for radius also. So that's why we are writing that f is equal to velocity. What is the value of velocity? That is V is equal to E square by 2 nh epsilon naught, means E square by 2 nh epsilon naught into 1 by 2 pi into the radius value will be n square h square epsilon naught by 5m e square, that is r in the denominator. So we are writing that is 5m e square by n square h square epsilon naught, n square h square epsilon naught. So both sides the terms which are having same terms can be cancelled in a numerator and denominator, that is pi get cancelled with pi, only that pi get cancelled, the remaining terms will be same, m into e square, that will be m e power 4 by here 2 to the 4 n square h square means n cube h cube epsilon naught square. This is the equation for frequency. Only those terms we are remaining, they are totally multiplied. This 2 to the 4 n square, n into n square, that will be n cube, h into h square will be h cube, epsilon naught into epsilon naught will be epsilon naught square. So e square into e square e power 4, that is m into e power 4 by 4 n cube h cube epsilon naught square be the frequency of an electron in a orbit. So we can get that here. That means to say the frequency is inversely proportional to cube of n, means frequency is inversely proportional to cube of value n. So this is about the frequency. The next one is, whenever the Bohr given the idea about, he has given the successfully calculated the radius of an orbit and as well as the speed or velocity of an electron in orbit and frequency. Now we are going to know about the energy of an electron in the orbit. Here we can say that the energy of an electron can be considered of two types. Whenever the alpha particles or electrons are revolving in a stationary orbit, it doesn't radiate any energy, and while they are revolving have some, whenever there is motion, they have kinetic energy, and as well as if whenever it is experienced by an external force, that velocity will be stays, then that will be, it is having that the kinetic energy and potential energy, both are energies are whenever combined, it can be considered as a total energy. The energy is two types, so we know that energy is of two types. The first one is kinetic energy. The second one is potential energy. So the first one is kinetic energy. That is Ke. The kinetic energy can be calculated. We know that the kinetic energy is equal to half mv square, means the energy possessed by an electron while revolving around the nucleus. It possesses some energy. That energy is considered as a kinetic energy of an electron. So in that case we know that the velocity of an electron is there by substitute in the equation v is equal to e square by 2nh epsilon naught. So that's why the kinetic energy, which is equal to half m into v square, means we are substituting that e square by 2nh epsilon naught, since v is equal to e square by 2nh epsilon naught. From the equation of velocity we are substituting. From that equation, kinetic energy, which is equal to, here square is there, so by square is calculated inside, then we can get that m into e power 4 by 2 into 4, 2 to the 4. So from that equation 1 by 2 into 4 n square h square epsilon naught square. By calculating we can get that kinetic energy, which is equal to m into e power 4 by 2 4 the 8 n square h square epsilon naught square. This is the equation for kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is inversely proportional to the square of En. This is about kinetic energy. The next one is potential energy. Potential energy means the potential energy of an electron for a charge of an electron is considered as potential energy. Means potential energy is equal to V into minus C, we can be calculated. Means the potential for charge of an electron is considered as a potential energy. So potential energy is equal to, so that is a kinetic energy. And next we are going to discuss about potential energy. Potential energy. Potential energy means the potential energy per charge of an electron, that is minus E, because of electron having the negative charge, so that's why we can get that V into minus E. From that equation we know that the potential of that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E by R into minus E. E by R into minus E. From this equation we can write that minus E square by 4 pi epsilon naught into R. Here the charge of an electron, this is the potential electrostatic potential equation, that is V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E by R is the charge and R be the distance between the 2 points. So that's why here the potential energy. From that potential energy we have the equation, in that case minus E square by 4 pi epsilon naught into, we have the equation for radius. Radius R is equal to, we know that n square h square epsilon naught by 4 pi square. So from this equation we are writing that minus E square by 4 pi epsilon naught into, here radius R is in the denominator, so that's why we are writing that, we know that R is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by phi m E square. Phi m E square we are substituting, then by 1 by n square h square epsilon naught by phi m E square. The denominator becomes numerator and this will be there, this will comes to the numerator, then minus E square into phi m E square by 4 pi epsilon naught into n square h square epsilon naught. So here pi get cancelled, epsilon naught into epsilon naught will be epsilon naught square, so m into E square minus m into E power 4 by, here 4 n square h square epsilon naught into epsilon naught square. So this is the equation for potential energy. The equation for the potential energy is inversely proportional to the square of n. So from this case we can write that the total energy which is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. Kinetic energy plus potential energy is considered as a total energy. So from this equation the total energy E is equal to, we know that kinetic energy is m E power 4 by 8 n square h square epsilon naught square. Then potential energy will be Pe is equal to minus m into E power 4 by 4 n square h square epsilon naught square, means plus into minus m E power 4 by 4 n square h square epsilon naught square. So by doing LCM we can get that here 8 n square h square epsilon naught square, that is m E power 4 minus 2 m E power 4. So minus m E power 4 by 8 n square h square epsilon naught square will be the equation for an energy. This is the calculated by the Bohr'S given and successfully calculation about the radius of an orbit, that is radius R is equal to n square h square epsilon naught by pi m E square, that is the radius equation. Then velocity or speed, that is V is equal to has given that E square by n h 2n h epsilon naught, and the energy will be minus m E power 4 by 8 n square h square will be epsilon naught square be the energy of an electron in a orbit, which has given. It is depends on that n square, means here we can write that E is proportional to 1 by n square. E is proportional to 1 by s square. In the case of radius, R is proportional to n square. In this case of V is proportional to 1 by n. So if the radius is n value is less, and means radius is also less, and in case of already we told that whenever the radius means already earlier for least value of n is equal to 1, least value of n is equal to 1, we calculated that 0.529 into 10 to the power of minus 10 meters, having that the radius for the least value, that is radius of our first orbit. Then for this we can also write that 0.529 angstroms, means 1 angstrom is equal to 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. So that's why this is about Bohr's theory of an hydrogen atom, about radius, velocity, and as well as frequency and energy, which is successfully calculated by Niels Bohr.